Namaste 420 Yogis. This is Dr. Liz, physical therapist here, and I am here to explain to you 5 key ways to prevent injury if you're a yoga teacher. Now, when I had a studio and I was teaching many classes a day, I would have lots of aches and pains and injuries, and now in my physical therapy practice, I am running into more and more yoga teachers that are hurting themselves. So I really wanted to put together this video for you with 5 tips that I've actually never heard anywhere for preventing injury. And they're just general tips. I'm going to have more videos later getting more specific, but this is really about kind of overall rules of thumb that you can apply to your practice and to your teaching methods to help keep you safe, okay? Because you're using your body a lot. All right, so the first tip is to stop and breathe. Breathing in that good-ass prana. Shout out to Infinite Waters. But it's true, we have to practice what we preach, right? So it's ironic that in a class you might be saying, breathe in and breathe out constantly, but you're not actually taking the time to do that to yourself, because when you're talking, you're not taking the time to take that really deep, rich inhale to put the fuel back in your tank. And another challenge is that sometimes we have all of this information that we want to give people, right? So it's just like, la, 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 and we want to like get it all out there. And so we're not taking time to breathe. And as a result, our tissues are just going to get wound up. So that's the one thing above all. That's my number 1 rule, okay? The second one is warm up. This is a tough one. There are challenges, okay? Warm up before you teach the class. And I know it's tough, especially if you're doing your own administration. So if you're the person who is taking payment, signing people in, all of that stuff, you can be absolutely bombarded and your attention can be drawn away from yourself, and you are in a service industry, you want to help people, you want to cater to people. I get it. But sometimes you can lose yourself and you can not allot that time for yourself that is so precious. So, you know you're going to be bombarded half an hour before the class. Go ahead and get there 45 minutes prior and have at least a 15-minute warm-up so that when you go into service, your body is prepared for it. And if you choose to demo a pose, your body is also prepared for that. Because when you think about it, it's kind of crazy to come from your day-to-day, be guiding people into their yoga practice, and then when a more complicated pose comes up, you're just gonna like whip out a wheel. That's craziness, okay? You can get away with it for a little while, but certainly don't make a habit of it. And then another trick, if you did not allow enough time, is to start people in a kind of shavasana. So just start the class so that people are like chilling out for 15 minutes. And you can kind of sneak in like a low level, subtle warm up. So while you're narrating things through them, you can be, stretching your quads, your hip flexors, whatever tends to be your tight areas, okay, or your problem areas. So that's a tip. Another one, tip number 3 is cross-train. Okay, so I know we love yoga. I know we want to practice every day, but honestly, just like any other sport, you can be subject to repetitive strain. So if your body is always doing the same thing in the same poses, the same style of exercise, then you're setting yourself up for repetitive use injuries. So it's really important to find a secondary sport that you love, or even a tertiary sport that you love. Extra points for tertiary. I love to swim. Swimming is definitely right up there for me with yoga. I used to be a runner, but I've kind of switched that out for swimming, and I also love to dance. So these are ways that I explore movement and essentially train my body to fire muscles in different orders, to relate to my external environment in different ways. And the more muscles that you have on board helping with all of your activities. And the more brain to muscle connections that you have, the more variety you have, the less susceptible you are to these repetitive strain injuries. So that is clutch. It's just kind of like to use like a financial metaphor, it's kind of like diversifying your investments. Okay, so you want to put your eggs in multiple baskets, right? Diversify your strengths. Okay, number 4, be present. Ugh, the irony. This is yet another one of those that we may preach and not necessarily practice, especially if you're in a class full of people. And again, you're a one-man or woman show. You are the DJ, you are the adjuster, you are the narrator, you are all of these things, your classroom management, you're all of these things at once. You can tend to get pulled in different directions. And I mean that physically and metaphorically, okay? So you may think you're a boss because you're able to adjust someone and then give someone else across the room an instruction. But 9 times out of 10, when you're dividing your attention in multiple places, you're not being present with your body, okay? So, I mean, if you've already like dominated your parallel lives here and you're able to be present in multiple states and multiple places, that's one thing, but that's pretty next level. Okay, so I'm going to assume that most of us are still functioning on this plane. And for example, if I'm looking at someone else and I'm doing something else with my body, also my head is not in a good relationship with my body as well. So I am not well aligned. You have to maintain your center and be present. Do one thing at a time. So just that person, be with that person, quality over quantity. They're going to feel the connection. They're going to feel you're there 100% whole with them, right? Make a note. Oh, shit. Got to change something about my playlist. Make a note. Get to it after you've done the adjustment. Or see that guy over there doing something super crazy. Be like, hold up, I'll be right with you. Okay? And then get to that guy. All right? 5th, and this is my favorite tip, use your students. Oh my God, what did she say? Use her students? Well, I mean as demos, right? And there's going to be a few people that are really happy to be demos, okay? Because they want to show off their skills, the rest of it, right? So it really is like a symbiotic relationship to use your students when you're talking about poses, okay? So 2 ways to do this. You can kind of set it up, say you're showing like a Pinchi Mayurasana or something, and you're gonna call Penelope from the front row to set this up, and you're gonna have like a little demo moment before you do it. Or maybe you're already in the middle of something and you see a student who's doing it very well. You can just say, as so-and-so is currently doing, this is a great idea to follow her. Now, that can be sticky. You definitely want to know your demo person in that case. So if it's someone who's always coming to my classes, I know I have a good relationship with them. I know they're not going to freak out if I'm like, oh, look at them in Setu Bandhasana, then that's great. But the point is that instead of you going from a position where you're talking, narrating, and then suddenly transitioning into this pose because people aren't understanding and you need to demo it, you have now saved yourself having to demo that, and you've complimented a student by highlighting their outstanding work, right? So, with these 5 tips, I wish all of you a happy and healing teaching journey. Remember that it should feel just as good for you as it should feel for your students. And I am also available for private coaching. So reach out, touch faith. Namaste.